Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Matchbook Horse Racing Podcast, where it's a serious Saturday's racing, which we're going to be previewing for you very shortly. We will cast our eye ahead to Sunday as well, Irish Champions Weekend from the Curragh. We have no official decks for that because we are doing this on Thursday evening. So it'll be a swift mention of Sunday, but we'll get stuck into Saturday, where we've got Doncaster and we've got day one of Irish Champions Weekend from Leopardstown as well. A stellar team amassed for you. Donn McClean, how are you, sir? All good?
Good, Tom. Yeah, no, absolutely. It's some weekend ahead on both sides of the Irish Sea, but yeah, you're going to need eyes everywhere over the weekend.
Proper stuff, isn't it? Dees, how's things? You all good?
Very good, Tom. Really looking forward to it now. Enjoy going through this. There's unbelievable quality racing for the next few days.
Yeah, absolutely cracking stuff, isn't it? Rixie, nice to see. It's a crazy week. It's a good week, but it's a busy week.
Yeah, it is. It's very busy. Wednesday through to Sunday, basically, with France on as well. So, yeah, really exciting time of the year. So I can't wait to see how it all unfolds.
Absolutely. Right, let's just get the first things first done and dusted. And that is, first of all, the sign-up offer. It is for new customers only. It is bet 10, get 10. That is the Matchbook betting exchange offer. Bet 10, get 10. And in order to do that, bet £10, but bet 10, get 15. I mean, it's right there in front of me. Bet 10, get 15. All I've got to do is read what's in front of me. Use the bonus code INSIGHTS15 for the bet 10, get 15 offer. You bet £10, you get 15 back. Bonus code is INSIGHTS15. For that, if you are watching us on YouTube and you like the content, then please do give it a thumbs up and subscribe, because it makes it easier to follow all the content we put out across all the sports. And if you're listening to us on the podcast, then give us a review on whatever your preferred podcast app is. Preferably good, but honest feedback is what we welcome. And for all the bets that we put up, if you are listening to this and you've got no time to go any further, or if you just want to recap, then go to insights.matchbook.com for that, insights.matchbook.com, with all our bets and a brief description about why we'll be up there for you. Right. I think that started pretty well. Let's get stuck into the feature. It is the Cazoo St. Leger. Prices as follows. Hurricane Lane is 1.73. Ottoman Emperor, Johnny Murtagh's charge, he could win both ledgers this weekend, is 8.0. Mojo's Star, who won a maiden last time, is 9.0. High Definition with the cheap pieces on. You'll need more than that, they say. 10.0. Interpretation 17.0. Salukan 21.0. Much bigger prices the rest. Right. I'm really interested with the selections here. Rixie, first of all, I thought you might have a little go in the without market, and there you go. So you're not officially taking on Hurricane Lane, but you want to put up one at a price.
Yeah, to be honest, I might have a go in the open market as well, because especially if they don't get all the rain at Donny, the only worry I have with Hurricane Lane is if the ground gets very quick. I think he's a class in his own, to be honest. If he wasn't in this race, I think it'd be a desperate St. Leger, but we have a potential star in here. I think he will stay. He's got a nice relaxed demeanour about him. By Frankel is down over 2 miles, but he's not the most elegant of movers. He's quite a heavy horse, probably thriving, getting bigger and stronger as the year goes on. And I'd just be a little bit worried about the ground getting quick for him. So I'll probably play in both markets. But obviously kind of the stakes would be higher in the without market, because, as I said, I think he's a class in his own. But look, I think if you take Hurricane Lane out of the race, I genuinely think all the rest of the horses, they're all much of a muchness, to be honest. And with that in mind, I've actually gone for the outsider of the field. I just don't think he should be as big as he is, and that's scope for Rafe Beckett and Rob Hornby. He obviously ran in the Great Voltager behind the likes of the Mediterranean, Youth, Spirit, Sir Luke, and all of those who clash here. He just finished behind them, but I thought was interesting. His final furlong was the joint fastest of all the horses in that field. And it was his first run in quite a while off a break. And I didn't think the race felt great for him. He was chasing a runaway leader in second, and he didn't have any cover or a good lead himself. And it left him exposed to the elements throughout. I think if Rob Hornby can maybe just tuck him in behind and get a little bit of cover here, with him shaping like this, step up and trip is worth a go. I think he is. I just don't get the price. He's 50.0 odd there, maybe even bigger on the exchanges. I just think he's just too big a price. So, and to be fair, out of all those horses in the Voltigeur, I think he's shaped like one visually who is crying out for a step up and trip more than the likes of a Sir Lucan. That he came under pressure about 3.5 out and had a little bit of trouble as well. Wasn't allowed to fully stride out for a while. So yeah, look, I think scope, win and place without Hurricane Lane is the play, but also definitely have a go in the straight market as well.
And particularly, it sounds like if it's quick ground, I don't think had as much rain as perhaps today they were expecting. So there you go. Scope, 51.0 currently. I mean, you could easily price up on that as the market floods a little bit. Donn, over to you.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting. I echo a lot of what Declan said about Hurricane Lane. He won the Irish Derby. He was really good in Longshot last time, even better probably, but on easier ground. And he even earlier in the year, there was an inkling around that he did want a little bit of cut in the ground. So, and we often do get soft ground or easy ground for Irish Champions Weekend and St. Leger Weekend at Doncaster, but it's looking like it's going to be, at least at Leopardstown and Doncaster, it's going to be on the fast side of good, or definitely good ground, and that's it's important. It's been a kind of a fluctuating weather forecast through the week, but look, Hurricane Lane he's the class horse in the race. He was so impressive last time. He battled on really well to win the Irish Derby from an unpromising position, but I just like Ottoman Emperor is the horse that I like. Tom, even he's got £9 to find on official rating with Hurricane Lane, but I just think he's a horse who we haven't got to the bottom of yet. I mean, the Great Voltigeur last time, it was a bit of a messy race, but Ottoman Emperor had beaten all those horses in the Gordon Stakes and then didn't go to the Great Voltigeur. And he's a horse who he just seems to keep on finding. He's not definitely bred to get 1.6 miles or 1.6.5 miles, but I just think the way that he races, his dam won over 1 mile, and there's 1.5 miles there are 1.5 mile performances in his pedigree, but I just think that it's a little bit of a question mark, but I think if he does stay, and the way that he races suggests that he will. I know last time in the Great Voltigeur or in the Gordon Stakes, he only got home by half a length from Sir Lucan, but he'd kind of gone to the front. He travelled really well, and Ben Cohen gave him a shake at the 2 furlong marker. He went to the front. I think he was just idling in front, and the fact that he had enough in reserve to stay on as well as he did and win the race, thought that was big. He seems to have improved since then. Johnny Murtagh seems to be really happy with him, and yeah, in a year where, besides Hurricane Lane, exactly what Declan said, he's the class horse in the race, but I just think that Ottoman Emperor is the type of horse who can improve from kind of Group 3 type horse to go and win this Leger, and I do think that the 1.6.5 miles furlongs at Doncaster, it can be a grueler. They get racing early, often usually in the St. Leger, and you really have to stay to win it. But I think that he's that type of tough horse who could thrive for stepping up and trip.
Yeah, and his trainer is pretty confident that Nicholas Germany was before last time when he stepped up for 1.5 miles, and so it proved. He is an 8.0 shot. Deasy, you got a couple on side. You're a brave man.
Well,
because you put up because high definition's coming up, so I'm excited to hear the case.
I'm still changing mind about this race, but high definition. Look, high definition has been a cliff horse for me. I tipped him in every race he's running. I thought, just based on last year, I thought he was very good. The fact that they've supplemented.
Why stop now, Deasy?
Why exactly. Got to get the money back, lads. The fact that they supplemented him, and the fact they're trying cheap pieces on him, hopefully that'll bring out a bit of improvement. But I find it very hard to see past Hurricane Lane in this. I mean, he's long odds on. I wouldn't even bother trying laying him just to see would something beat him. I think he's going to win. So I will have a small bet on high definition in the without market. Minimum stakes, just to cover all the losing bets I've had in him this year. Because he's run absolute stinkers every time he's been out. And the other horse I like, actually, is not a Red O'Brien horse, the Mediterranean. Going back to the Great Voltigeur Stakes now. He tried to make all, and he was actually you barely got past him, but nothing else got past him. Nothing else even got near him. He just kept going. And like what Donn said about Ottoman Emperor, I think that the step up in trip will suit him. I think he's obviously very tough. he won't want the ground to go soft if the ground stays good or even stays good to form. I think that'll suit him as well. He's a decent enough price, so I'd probably just back him to place. I think if we're getting about 3.0 or 4.0 into place, I can see him just getting out in front, staying out there, and I think he'll be hard to pass. I think he could definitely be in the first 2 or 3, if not 4.
So the Mediterranean just a place,
yeah,
and high definition winner in the without market.
Yeah,
without the favourite market.
I shouldn't really be telling anyone to back high definition. Like, this is just me just trying to get my money back. But
yeah, but I went back and I watched the Dante again, and I was like, based on that run, there's too much in the odds between high definition and the favourite. But then the trouble is, high definition in the last 2 starts has just been absolutely.
Yeah, and they paid a lot of money to get him into this race. Like, there was probably other races he could have gone for, and he's gone for this. Like, so.
He's definitely.
I think Frankie might do a better job than Roy Moore and sitting him out the back. I think Frankie might just get him up the front and get him going and get him galloping, because he's a massive horse with a massive stride, and like he should be. I think like the distance should be fine with him, and I suppose this is his last chance as well. You know.
Yeah, he's definitely a player, and cheek pieces for the first time. That's a positive or a potential positive. Frankie Dettori is obviously a positive. Like Frankie Dettori, you'd imagine he'd be on the number 1 choice of the Ballydoyle horses, given that Ryan Moore is playing at Leopardstown, and Sir Lucan and the Mediterranean. Sir Lucan, after the Great Voltage or the Gordon Stakes, I thought he would be the St. Ledger horse. He ran really well there after a break, but he just didn't go forward then in the Great Voltage. But it's wide open.
Frankie was on Sir Lucan in the Great Voltage, and he's after getting off him, so he's after getting off the high definition.
This brings us nicely, yeah, but he's got to ride high definition, because they always have to have him on the talking horse, on who's perceived to be the best horse, right? They have to, even though he shouldn't. I think he's too short high definition based on the last 2 runs. Anyway, Sir Lucan's the horse I want to put up. Again, in the without market. I just want to take Hurricane Lane out of the equation. I would be a backer if it wasn't for, as Rixie says, the ground concerns. I do just think I'd prefer, if I knew it wasn't going to be good to firm, then all right, but we don't know that, so that's my slight concern. But I think Sir Lucan, if you look at his runs so far this year, Sandown, he had absolutely no chance. You could not win from off the pace that day at Sandown on heavily watered ground. You simply couldn't. You had to be up there and you had to be on the rail. Then he won at Navan. Then he ran a really good race at Goodwood, when I think on that form, he should be closer in the betting to Ottoman Emperor. And then last time in cheek pieces for the first time, I don't know, he was a bit lit up. I'll forgive any horse who run at York. So I think Sir Lucan at 21.0, but in the without market, I'd back him small. But that's where I'd be. All Aidan O'Brien's horses running in cheek pieces, and it's not the first time that's happened either. Anything to add on the St. Ledger before we kick on, gentlemen? Good. Go on, Rick.
I would just add, I think we have to give Mojo Star a mention, just because he obviously ran so well in the Derby. In my opinion, I'd be the firm opinion he should be second favourite over Ottoman Empire. That run in the Derby for me is comfortably the second best piece of form on offer. And when he went to the Irish Derby, I don't think that many people. I'd love to someone ask Cannon. He was a colossal drifter in that market that day. I think he opened up in that race about 4-1, 5-1, and I think his SP was about 12s. So, and Richard Hannon had another horse run on Ireland that day as well, a 2-year-old who was a massive drifter. So I don't know, did they have the captain of the bloody Costa Concordia driving the boat over, and the thing was just an absolute, ducking icebergs everywhere, and the horses just, creamed themselves. But I would love someone to ask Hannon about that, because that was a colossal drift. And then obviously in the race he got flattened, didn't he? So I thought he should get a mention, because I thought he's got the second best piece of form and offer, and I think he's more likely to stay stronger than other horses. But the other thing as well, I know Richard Hannon won a Group 1 over 12 furlongs with Pether's Moon, but this is not the type of horse he thrives with, is it? It's kind of milers, sprinter milers, kind of those horses. So that was the only reason that kind of put me off Mojo Star, to be honest.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting point about the Hannon horses. They've definitely made an effort the last 2 years to get a slightly different type, more a stayer in the yard. They had that Etonian as well. It hasn't really been seen off the back of Sandown, but they've definitely had that type of horse, or tried to get more of that type of horse in. Let's move on to we're going to go back to the Portland. This is the 145. I'm not going to give you prices because it's so open. It's 9.0 the field. So just when we get to who we're going to put up, I'll say the prices that they are. Donn, starting with you.
Yeah, look, this is bananas race, Tom, as ever. A 5.5 furlong sprint. I just think Juvenile back at Doncaster. I think Doncaster's key to Juvenile, and he's kind of been progressing nicely this year. He won at Doncaster twice early in the season, and then he went to York and he ran a massive race in a 5.5 furlong race there. I kind of thought 5 furlongs is his trip, and that seems to be like he's a 5 furlong horse, but he kept on well over 5.5 at York on his penultimate run, the race at Copper Night won. He was drawn on the near side that day, and it all developed towards the far side. He was the only one of the high drawn horses who got in among them, and he kept on well to finish 4th. And then I thought then that Micheál Dawes would leave him off and bring him straight to the Portland, given his affinity with Doncaster. But he ran him again at Haydock there last week, and he ran well, and he kept on. That was over 5 furlongs. He was keeping on well. So the step back up to 5.5, I think that would be a positive for him. The return to Doncaster, definitely a positive for him. He's got really good form on fast ground as well. And he's £5 higher than he was when he won at Doncaster earlier in the season. But I just think that he's got that progression in him. He definitely ran up to his mark and possibly beyond it the last time at Haydock. And his drawn stall 21. I'm not certain that's a positive, given that he's on the wing. I prefer him maybe drawn a wee bit more towards the centre. But I just think he goes into the race in good form. He loved the ground. This is probably ideal. And most of all, he goes really well at Doncaster. He's won 3 times there and finished place twice, and I think just 6 runs. So yeah, I think at around 12-1 or thereabouts, I think he's interesting in the Portland.
Yeah, he is indeed. 13.0 for Joel, who absolutely loves the track. Rixie, I know you're sitting this one out. Deasy, who do you like?
He went for last year's winner, Stone of Destiny, and he was a much bigger price when I was looking at it earlier today. He's actually been back into second favourite now. But he won this rat last year. He has been running at the highest level this year. He's running a lot of the big races without really, I suppose, hitting the frame in any of them. But I think Doncaster over 5.5 furlongs on good ground, same as Joel. I think that's going to be his thing. Like he ran there again last week at Haydock behind Man the Mej. Like he won this off 98 last year. I think he's run with us 1, 2, 3. He's run 9 times this year, and he's only actually come down 2 pounds. Like so, he's quite consistent. Again, there has been money for him. He's Sylvester's choice of the 2 King Power horses in this. And when he was I think he was 12.0 earlier. So I was going to say winning place. He's still I'd still go for winning place. I'd probably go a bit more on the place now. He's a shorter price, but I think he'll go very close, especially if we're getting 5 places.
Stone of Destiny. So half a point win, half a point place. Basically,
yeah.
It's not a big shout, right?
No.
It's
tough race,
it's a tough race, exactly. He has been well supported. He's 12.0. I definitely want Hurricane Ivor on side. He's probably the only one I'd back at this point. I know he's right at the top of the market. 9.0 I think is really fair. I've backed him on his last couple of starts as well. He ran really well at Asp. So basically, he won at Sandown and went up £5, but he dead heated, but technically he won. Then at Ascot, he ran really, really well. He effectively won his side, even though I know it doesn't translate exactly like that. And then went up £1 off the back of that. There was a stiff Ascot 5 that really suited. And then Goodwood, Stewards Cup, he doesn't want soft ground. So I was slightly concerned that his trainer said that the ground really wouldn't suit. I was slightly concerned if they got a lot of rain, but they haven't had it. Again, he ran an absolute cracker over the flying 5.5 at York when it just didn't quite work out with Copper Knight, who completely got away from him. He was the right side, but Copper Knight got away from him. I think this is absolutely ideal, this 5.5 for him here at Doncaster. The other one that's really tempting is When the Dealing's Done. And he's probably a big enough price at 13.0, but I'd have a slightly smaller win and place bet on When the Dealing's Done, who wasn't the right side at York last time. And Roger Till won it with a 3-year-old and former Oxford a few starts ago. So I'm going to have 2 for fun. Hurricane Ivor, a bigger bet, and When the Dealing's Done, a slightly smaller bet. They both came out the same York race last time. Right. Let's kick on to the next contest. This is the Champagne Stakes. There's not a huge amount of opinion with this 220. because it's cut up a heck of a lot. Look, I'm the only one that's got an official selection here, which I know is ridiculous because you've only got 4 in there. I do think this reach for the moon, though, at 1.91 is, I think he should be shorter. I think over this distance, I think he'll have the beating of Lusail comfortably. And I know I don't love putting up odds on shots, but I definitely want him on side. I just think he's way better than that. I think he's a proper horse, and I think Lusail, you know, maybe he'll appreciate the step up in trip, but I'm not absolutely convinced. He does look I know he stayed on really well last time, but I think Reach for the Moon is standout. I think he's a really smart horse, and they think that he's their Derby horse for next year, and I hope he is because he carries the colours of Her Majesty the Queen. So those are my views. Does anybody want to come back and just throw something at me or at anyone about this? Don, you look poised to say something.
Yeah. No, look, you have to like Reach of the Moon. He was very impressive in the Solaris Stakes last time. And Harrow, whom he beat at Newbury the time before that, went and won the big sales race today. So he got a nice timely boost. But I think Lusail could be as good as him, Tom. I just think that Lusail, the way he won the Gimcrack last time, he was very strong. And I know he's stepping up in trip, but he has won over 7. I thought maybe they should have been a wee bit closer in the betting than they are. And I thought Twilight Jet as well in the Gimcrack, I thought he ran better than the Bear Form. He was over on the far side on the wing, and he did threaten. But he ran well. The fact that Michael O'Callaghan's bringing him over again to go for this, I think, you know, he might outrun big odds. But no, I thought Lusail should have been closer to Reach for the Moon in the betting than he is.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose it's I know there's only £1 between them. Lusail's got to give him £3.
Yeah.
Thought that, I don't know. I'm probably sold by being there at Newbury when Reach for the Moon won, and then sometimes you see a horse in the flesh and you're like, I was there. But
the handicapper's definitely wet himself a bit, giving Lusail 113, hasn't he? Well, the Gimcrack was shite, wasn't it? I thought
we'd been a bit too polite for you, Rixie. Get in there. Go on.
Yeah, he carried the penalty. It was a very good performance, to be fair. But did he really need to improve on what he'd shown before with so many horses in behind, not running their races? So the other thing I would say in Lusail's favour is that this race looks devoid of pace. It could get very, very tactical. And obviously he can front run. And Reach for the Moon can maybe take a little grip. You know, if Frankie struggles to get cover, he could maybe over race a little bit. But I would agree with your sentiments, especially with Lusail carrying a penalty, that Reach for the Moon definitely should be shorter. All right, yeah. But this race looked brilliant at the 5-day stage, but it's cut up so badly, unfortunately. So we'll have to see what turns out.
Reach for the Moon he's going to win the Derby, and he's not even in it. So there you go. But he'll be supplemented, and he'll win it, and it'll be the Queen's Platinum Jubilee, and the whole of the UK will wet itself. You heard it here first. Anything to add? Should we move on?
Just if the Queen wins the Derby and they catch Prince Andrew there, that's where the feds could get him.
And we do move on.
Just saying.
Those are yeah. I don't really want to say. And on we go. An innocent, innocent. On we go. I didn't mean to say that.
Thomas flustered here.
Completely. You got me, Rixie. The Park Stakes is the 3 o'clock. We do have a difference of opinion as far as a good difference of opinion. I'm looking forward to hearing Deasy and Rixie go head to head here. So currently at 3.25 is Lana Kesh. 3.5 is Danya. Glorious Journey is 4.0. 11.0 is Dubai. And then we move on to the bigger prices. All right. So this is a case of making the case for Lana Kesh and making the case to lay Lana Kesh. So step forward, first of all, in the red corner, Micheál Deasy.
Yeah, I thought I was actually with this race before the prices were out, and then I've gone through it, and he was just a standout one to me. So he made a season debut last time in the Hungerford behind Sacred, and I thought he ran a cracker for his seasonal debut. And last year, his second run of the season was at this festival, and he won the Flying Scotsman, and he went out and he ran second to New Mandate. So they've tried the same thing again. They've started him off in August and then brought him here. It should be in the peak of his form. I wasn't expecting to be favourite, but I think it's between him and Danya, and I think that Danya stepping up out of Handicap company, he's to give him £4. Roger Varian generally is very good at Doncaster, so he's a sharp price, but I think he'll win.
I don't know what you're right. Roger Varian and Andrea Azzini, there's something about Doncaster. Love it, but I don't know why. Rixie, the case.
Jim Crowley's on him, so that's a problem. But
yeah, no, that wasn't about the horse. That was just a loose point about that.
Oh, you're very close to the Pam. You're very close. Have a drink of water there.
Stop it, you. I know exactly what I'm talking about. What? Can't get Prince Andrew out of my head. What about the case against Lanakesh, Rixie?
Pardon?
The case against Lanakesh.
The case against, the case against for me is I think he's a candidate to bounce. Obviously, last time out, he ran 28 days ago, and that was his first run of the season. So he's obviously had some kind of setback that we haven't seen him since then. Now, don't get me wrong. I think on that piece of form, he deserves to be favoured. But the Varian team generally have their horses ready to go first time out. And the other thing with that race as well is the overall time was good and the sectionals were pretty rapid from Sacred that day. I don't think he will have had an easy race. It wasn't kind of like a prep run coming into it. He would have had a pretty tough race. And look, if he doesn't bounce, don't get me wrong, he's got the one piece of it form that he's got the single strong piece of strongest form in the race. Easy for you to say. And he's obviously respected, but I don't think he has that much in hand if he produces his best. I think Glorious Journey on his day would give him a go. The progressive Danya for Owen Burrows would give him a go as well. And if Dubai even returned to his best form, he'd give him a go. And the other thing with Danya is he's the sole kind of pace in this race. He's going to get an easy lead. And the Varian horse likes to be held up. So I think I've got quite a few things in my favour to be. I wanted to put something up. I always try and put something up to win, but it was just too much of a tricky race. So I thought that the good option here was to lay the favourite. So, I just think he's a candidate to bounce. We'll see.
I'm not necessarily against him, but I do think I thought Danya May. There was a bit more between them in the market, to be fair, a little bit earlier on. But I thought Danya was a fair enough price. I think he's very progressive. I think, Ascot form tends to translate pretty well here. And he's, of course, distance winner of the past. He didn't really settle on his reappearance at Donny in the Lincoln, but otherwise, I think he's a nice and progressive horse. And I thought Lanakesh was beaten a lot, a good bit by Sacred, who looks very smart last time, but that is the best form. But I still thought, there's a chance Lanakesh needs to better that to score. So I was with Danya against the rest of them. I'm not sure the rest of them are all that much personally, but I think Danya's going the right way. We'd rather have him on side at 3.5, although it wouldn't be a very strong shout.
Can I just throw another one in there as well? I would place Lay Glorious Journey in this because I was looking at him his last race there at York. I thought he was absolutely paddling at the end of the race. I think 7 furlongs, he just didn't get it at all. So, he's second favourite there now. If you're going to be getting even money or odds on, I'd place laying him because it's going to be 2 places.
You place laying Glorious Journey?
As well, yeah.
Love it. Glorious Journey are still definitely responsible for the worst ever bet in the history of betting, which was me backing Glorious Journey in the July Cup. I thank you. What a terrible shout that was. Let's kick on to we done. We are, aren't we?
We have to do Doncaster best bets.
We do.
Like magic, it just appeared.
It just happens. It's all voice automated. There's actually nobody pressing any buttons. Just voice automated. Sully's got the evening off. Doncaster best bets. Rixie, you can kick us off.
I'm going to put up Scope in the ledger without Hurricane Lane. I think that's the way to go. I think as I said earlier, take Hurricane Lane out of the race. The rest of them are all of much of a muchness. Maybe Mojo Star, maybe not in that bracket, but he's fresher than most. Had a lovely prep, and what I didn't mention as well is his dam is a half sister to Look Here, who obviously won the Oaks for the Beckett team, so he's well bred as well. So yeah, it's going to be Scope without Hurricane Lane, win and place for me, please.
Okay, that's for you. DC, what about you?
Lana Cash is the best bet.
Lana Cash, the best bet. You got one other in there or no?
Well, this is not a best bet. This is another bet for the day, but I think Victory Time will go very well in the 4:25 Chester.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's
she's running back into form small, but no, she had a good start to the season. But I think this is a soft enough race for her. So she thinks she's about second favourite. Probably get to about 5x5. A win bet on her as well.
Victory Chime in the 4:25 Chester. Your best bet is Lana Cash in the Park Stakes. Donn, your best bet.
Ottoman Emperor in the Ledger. It's an each way race or a win and place race as well, I think. So given that the favourite's so short, although it doesn't, the place market obviously that figures itself out. But no, I think he'll run well. I think he'll go close. I can see him grinding it out and battling on when others have wilted. And yeah, I think he's a win and place bet.
Okay, and my best bet also comes in the Ledger, but it would just be a place bet on Salukan as far as a best bet goes. That would be in the race itself, I'll probably do sort of a 80-20 stakes towards the place and a bit on the win just in case. I can't see him winning necessarily, but I really think he'll be in the first few. So that would be by place. So Lucan for me to place. Don't forget to go to insights.matchbook.com for all the bets we put up for Saturday at Doncaster and also those that are coming up at Leopardstown. And we start with the Irish Champions Stakes. So this is the 2:45 Saturday at Leopardstown, and yeah, there's 4 of us in this podcast, and there are 4 in the Irish Champion. I can't work out if I'm really disappointed or if it's look, it's a great race. So because we've got the right horses in it, so there we are, right at the top of the betting. 2.25, you've got St Mark's Basilica. 3.0 Tanawa. Poetic Flair is 3.3, and Patrick Sarsfield is 34.0. Donn, kick us off.
Yeah, look, you're right, Tom. It's a pity there aren't more horses in it, but from quite a while ago, you were kind of thinking if Turnawa and St Mark's Basilica and Poetic Flair all show up, it'll be a hell of a race, regardless of what else shows up. So they're all in it, and that's great. And it's fascinating, really, because Turnawa, she's probably better over 1.5 miles than she is over 1.25 miles. She needed every yard to win the Prix de l'Opera last year. Then she went on and won the Breeders' Cup Turf. And Dermotwell did say quite early that he was going to campaign her more patiently. The whole reason that it appeared, the reason she was kept in training as a 5-year-old was to go and win the Arc, which she may have won last year if she'd run in it instead of in the Opera. I don't think she was entered in the Arc, and maybe if she'd been entered in it, she would have run in it. Just would have been a fairly exorbitant supplementary entry fee to put her in it. But she's here, and this is the next step onto the Arc. I just worry about the drop back down to 10 furlongs for her. Like, of course, she's got pace. She's a top-class mare, but I do think she's better over 1.5 miles than over 1.25 miles. And with only 4 horses in the race, where's the pace going to come from it? Maybe that Colin Keane is going to have to make his own pace. And that's not really something she does, but he doesn't want it, probably won't want a slow pace. A slow pace would play into the hands of St Mark's Basilica and Poetic Flair. St Mark's Basilica, I mean, his performance in the Eclipse was phenomenal. Just a bit of a worry about the fact that we haven't seen him since, and he had that setback. So, and he's a short price. So all of that, look, it wouldn't be surprising to see him putting up a similar performance and winning it. But I think the value of the race is Poetic Flair. I think stepping up to 10 furlongs is potentially a positive for him. He's got that grinder. Like last time at Deauville in the Prix Jacques Le Marois, he was coming back at Poetic Flair going to the line, and he's probably going to have at least good and possibly fast ground at Leopardstown on Saturday, and that's massive. I think he's a horse who does love fast ground. All his really good runs are on fast ground, good to firm ground. He's run twice at Leopardstown too. He's unbeaten both times, albeit over 7 furlongs, but obviously an ability to handle any track is a positive. And yeah, I just can see Kevin Manning sitting and stalking and using his turn of foot. I don't think he should be the outsider of the 3 big ones, or as far away from the top 2 in the market as he is. And I think he's the bet.
A Poetic Flair for you. And then straight on to Deasy.
I agree with a lot of what Donn said, especially about the price, right? He is a value price, but I don't think that going up to 1 mile 2 is going to suit him. And I think that he will probably end up making the running. I think that there'll be no one else to do it. I think that Kevin Manning might just go off and try and make all. And I can see that setting it up for St. Mark's Basilica and possibly Terranova. This is so hard. Like, I was very close to putting up no bet, and I put in late Poetic Flair just because it was into the sheet where we were there, because it was the only way I could see myself betting into this race. Although at its price, we're only talking about laying out like it's going to be a 1-3 shot. Like, I just don't think he's going to win. I think there's a few negatives against him, although I think he's an absolutely amazing horse. He's my favourite horse this year by far, but I don't see him winning this race. So I would be laying him if I had to have a bet in the race. I probably won't though.
I wish Deasy had gone first, Don. You see, then we might have got a more sort of nuts out lay Poetic Flair. He's got no chance, but I feel like the case you made tempered his enthusiasm.
Look, there are worries. Like, he's never been over the trip, and I just think that the way he races and breeding as well, like he's a 3 parts brother to Glamorous Approach who won over 1.5 miles. So I think there's a good chance he'll get the trip. How do you work out if he got the trip or not at this level against probably the top 10 furlong horse in training, and probably the top 12 furlong horse in training as well, or one of them. It's going to be a big ask, but I do think he's bred for his breeding doesn't tell you that he won't get it, and the way that he races tells you that he might. And back at Leopardstown on fast ground, there are probably more positives in my book than there are negatives.
Just while we're on Poetic Flair, I'm going to do a name drop, and I'm going to make no excuses for it. But I spoke to Jim Bolger on the phone about Poetic Flair, and he wrecked my head about the horse because I thought he might want 10 furlongs, and he said he was tempted to run him in the July Cup, right? Which exactly. That's
no. He's trying to sell you a stallion, man.
It's what he's doing, isn't it? That's what he's doing. He's talking bollocks there, isn't he? Because but now in my head I'm like,
if Jim doesn't talk bollocks at all, everything he says is just bang.
In my head now, I'm like, he's got too much speed for 10 furlongs. Whereas if that didn't happen, I'd probably be backing him. And now I just feel my head's wrecked with Poetic Flair.
Oh, what a horse.
Jim's had his fun, and that's all that matters.
Yeah.
Don, the last word with you on Poetic Flair. What? So you no doubts about the trip. You happy?
Oh no, I definitely do have a doubt about the trip, Tom. But I think there's every chance that he will get it. And look, it's a stiff 10 furlongs at Leopardstown, especially if they go at pace. They're going to be on the wider track, and I had a walk around the track there during the week for Racing TV, and they've the rail out. So when you turn around, and it makes a massive difference. Like some of those meetings during the summer when they're on the inside track, you get out in front, and whatever's in front takes an awful lot of catching because it's a 2 furlong home straight. But when they're on the wider track, it's almost a 2.5 furlong home straight. And up that hill at Leopardstown, it takes an awful lot of getting. So it's probably the main concern about Poetic Flair. But I just think this class, Leopardstown, fast ground, they're all positives. So I think the positives outweigh the negatives, especially at the price that we're talking about.
And are we working on genuinely quick ground at Leopardstown? Final question.
I think so, yeah. They were watering when we were there the other day, and there was a little bit of rain forecast, and they're still not certain how much rain is going to come, but Leopardstown, it's a very, very fast training track. Like we've had nearly good ground here at Christmas and for the Dublin Racing Festival. So, it would take a fair bit of rain on the morning of racing to turn it soft. So I think, and whatever rain falls, like the Curragh will probably be easier. The ground at the Curragh will probably be easier than it will be at Leopardstown if they get the same amount of rain. So yeah, I think it's safe enough to assume at least goodish ground at Leopardstown.
All right, I'm out. I think St Mark's Basilica really quick ground would worry me. So there you go. I'm just out. The head's a mess. Rixie.
Yeah, I think. Do you know what the most disappointing part of this race is? It's not the small runner field. It's a race lacking pace. This looks like it could be an absolute farce of a race. They could honestly jog around here for 7 furlongs and kind of build it up then and sprint for 3. So I think that's disappointing, although I won't care if I back the winner. I agree with some of what Donn is saying and disagree with some others. I agree with, I think in terms of raw ability, he's overpriced, definitely. I wouldn't agree about being worried about the trip. I think he'll stay but then surely he's definitely going to stay as well, given that it looks like there's no pace on. It's not going to be an end-to-end gallop where they're kind of testing stamina. And the thing is with Poetic Flare, I would have never really wanted him stepping up to 10 furlongs until his last race, because the last time out was the only time he ever really dropped the bridle early. If you go back and watch all his races before that, really, really strong travelling, keen. And I just wonder now, is the fizz potentially starting to go out of him? He's not travelling as strong as he was. The zest is not there. Don't get me wrong, he still ran an absolute cracker behind Palace Pier and the Jacques Le Marois. And maybe he was even a touch unlucky that Palace Pier challenged quite wide, because it looked like he was picking up again in the closing stages. So, I don't know. I've always had it in my head, Palace Pier, fast ground, strong pace. That's what brings out the very best in him. He might get fast ground here, but I'm not sure he's going to get strong pace. So, and then St. Mark's Basilica, I want to take him on. I don't think that Eclipse form I don't think it's as good as everyone's making it out to be. It was a slow run race, good to soft ground. He beat a Dave, who's a mudlark. He's a good horse on good to soft ground. He's a top class horse on soft and heavy ground. Mishriff clearly needed the race for me. He's another horse who thrives with cover and a strong gallop. Didn't get that. David Egan had him out in front with no cover. And if you actually go back and stop that race at the 3 furlong pole, Mishriff was travelling all over St. Mark's Basilica. And basically what happened in the last 3 furlongs is the 2 older horses who didn't have runs earlier in this for 2 or 3 months, they didn't have the legs late in the race, and it looked like they were out sprinted. I don't think they were completely. I think they were more outstayed because they weren't fit. So it all leads me, after that long-winded spiel, to back Tarnawa. I agree with Donn in what he was saying, that she's probably going to be better over 12 furlongs. But when this mare is in the top of her game, she's got gears. We saw that. If anyone did the section analysis of when she ran on the Arc weekend, when she won her closing sections, I know it was 2 furlongs shorter. They were far quicker than what the horses did in the Arc. She ran in the Arc last year. I think, and what she did that day, she would have won the Arc. She goes on heavy ground. She won a Breeders' Cup at Keeneland on rattling quick ground. So I don't think ground is a concern. Maybe if rain came, it would just take the sting out of it, maybe it put more emphasis on stamina. But she's had the best prep coming into it. She's fresh. She's won at Leopardstown, and I'm just hoping I'm hoping Colin Keane might be the difference, the champion jockey, and that he gets her up late. So it's a really fascinating race. I thought it was fascinating to break down, even though there was only kind of 4 runners, 3 with on form that looked have a winning chance. So I just think the lack of pace kind of makes it that little bit more disappointing. But look, we'll see. I'll be jumping around the living room like a prairie dog if Tarnawa wins. So I'm hoping she'll win here and then go on and win the Arc.
I am absolutely pumped for the race now. I'm more excited about that than the Ledger. There you go. On we go, or back we go, if you like, to the KPMG Champion Juveniles contest, which is the 110 at Leopardstown, and 3.5 is Maritime Wings. Absolute Ruler is 4.5, 9.0 Atomic Jones. Buckaroo is 9.0, as is Manuel Cord and Once Upon a River. Then we get stuck into the bigger prices. Rixie, I'll come straight back to you if we can.
Yeah, I'm going to keep it simple here. I'm going to put up the favourite Maritime Wings. He's been knocking heads with Point Longsdale in his last 2 runs. And if you go back and stop the tape visually in a couple of those runs, he's actually travelled all over Point Longsdale, but hasn't been able to quicken with him. I thought at Leopardstown, when they clashed in his penultimate run, I think it was in the Tyros Stakes, the race definitely fell a lot better for Point Longsdale. He was closer to the pace, didn't have as wide a trip. And I just thought Maritime Wings, I've been impressed with him, how he hit the line. He came home well. I just think this first time step up to a mile is really going to suit him. The only thing I would say is I've just noticed the last time out especially, he's hung a little bit, and I don't know if that's greenness or he's not putting it all in. So I would have been, if he had that kind of really easy going, fluent action off the bridle where he was stretching and you could see him really trying, I'd be more keen. But I've just got a little thing in my head that there could be something holding him back. But I'm going to get this will be the race to maybe find out more, because he'll get into a proper battle here. He's never been in a proper battle with Point Longsdale because he's always been too good for him. So we'll find out here. But I think the step up in trip is definitely going to suit. You know, I think on his distaff side, he's from the family of Mojo Star, actually. And he's by Glen Eagles. I know Glen Eagles was a miler, but a lot of his progeny tend to be staying very well. So, I'm going to keep it simple here and go for the Joseph O'Brien horse, Maritime Wings.
And the only other official selection here comes from me, which is Atomic Jones. It would be win and place at 9.0. I liked what he did at the Curragh. I know he didn't win by far, but J.L. Lyons afterwards was pretty adamant that he'd improve for it, but also need a little bit of time. He actually talked about next year. He's been given 76 days off the track, and the key being that he liked the quick ground, and that was the point afterwards. And we look as though we're going to get something similar. I love the stallion. He should definitely appreciate the step up in trip. I think that'll be a big plus. And I just thought at win and place, he was a decent shout. I think Maritime Wings should definitely be favourite because of the Point Lonsdale form. But I was quite taken with Atomic Jones, and he might well be a horse for next year. But then the horses for next year, they're often horses for now over a mile. So there you go. That was a win and place selection for Atomic Jones. Time-wise, I'm just going to move straight on to the Matron because it's the next Group 1 and probably a little bit more interesting for us to get stuck into. We've got more selections going up there. So over a mile for the fillies, Mother Earth is 2.1. Pearls Galore is 8.5. 11.0 for Acanella. Epona plays 12.0. And then it is there's a good few 13.0 and bigger. The rest, I am sitting on the fence here. Can't quite work out what to do. DC, you like Mother Earth? Come in again, Dees.
Get as much money as you can together and put it on Mother Earth in this race, because she will absolutely smash them. She's clear on ratings and she's getting weight off everything else in the race, and she's still odds against. She'll go off odds on, absolutely lash into her. It's like picking it up off the ground.
So once you've laid Poetic Flair and made all that money, just put it straight on
Boom.
To Mother Earth. Boom. Nothing else to add?
But always, you've got to add something to that. But have a good bet, but always remember to
bet responsibly.
There you go.
I thought you were going to say something about the royal family. Then I was worried. Donn.
I think this is a hell of a race as well. Mother Earth's the right favourite for sure. She's the classy mare, and also it's a really good race for 3-year-olds. But I just think that Pearls Galore, she's actually more likely race than Mother Earth, even though she's a year older than her. I just think she's coming into the race with a really nice upward profile. She won really impressively at Ferryhouse, beat Valeria Messalina, and then last time she won the Ferry Bridge Stakes, which is the race that Champs-Élysées won last year when it was at Goran Park, actually rerouted from Tipperary before she came on and won the Matron. And I'm a bit surprised Billy Lee isn't riding her, actually. He's riding Epona Plays instead. Maybe like he's committed to Willie McCreary. That's his first port of call, but he does ride a lot for Paddy Toomey, and he's ridden Pearls Galore, obviously a lot. But I just think that she's a really talented mare. She has to, or filly even, she has to step up again to win a Matron Stakes, but she's going into the race with, like, her last 2 wins, she's had a little bit more in hand on both occasions, I think, than the winning margin. I just don't think we've got to the bottom of her yet. She's a likely race filly. Paddy Toomey's very, very, very good trainer, and I think she could be the answer. Acanella was very good last time in beating Champs-Élysées in the Snow Fairy Stakes. That was a bounce back to form for her, and just having a look at the race again, it was another superb ride by Colin Keane. He just got her into the right position just behind the pace. It was a race in which it was hard to come from behind, as it often can be on the round track at the Curragh. And Champs-Élysées, it was a good bounce back to form for her, and she's back again, having won the Matron last year. Johnny Murtha's first Group 1 winner. She was a bit disappointing in the early part of the season, but that was a much better run from her, I thought, last time. Up to 9 furlongs, I think back to a mile would suit her, and back at Leopardstown would suit her as well. Epona Blaze comes into it. She wasn't beaten that far last time, and she had won her previous two, including the Group 2 race, the Longway Stud race. Pretty gorgeous, probably wants easier ground, but I think there's great depth to this race. You know, I look, maybe Micheál is right and Mother Earth will win by 6 lengths, but I think that there are plenty of ifs in here. Like if Champions Elise can come back, if Acanella can go forward from her last run, and she could, but I think all into the mix at about whatever 8.0 or thereabouts. Pearls Galore is the filly who she's likely raced. She's got a lovely profile going into it. She's got the potential to step up and be a Group 1 filly, and yeah, she's the one I like. And Declan McDonough, he's a more than able deputy for given that Billy Lee is riding opponent place.
And Rixie.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of Donn said there. It is a fascinating race. You know, if the likes of Shale and First Time Cheek Pieces, you know, Pretty Gorgeous, last year's winner Champs Elise, if they all came back to their best form, you know, they're all big prices. But I suppose that's just what can happen with fillies and mares. They can kind of go on and off the boil all pretty quickly. So I think Deasy makes a fair point about Mother Earth here. I think in terms of form, she could have been odds on, to be honest, especially now that she's going to get back on quicker ground. I think she clearly handles all types of ground, but on this kind of faster side, she's better. But look, I don't really want to back her at that kind of price. So what I'm going to do is take her out of the equation and have a bet in there without Mother Earth market. And if you do that, you open up the race. You know, it's very open. And look, I'm going to give one more chance to Dream Loper here. I think it's very interesting Ed Walker is sending her over here. They've always clearly had quite a high opinion of her, but it was her penultimate run at Ascot, I think, in the Valiant Stakes. She put up a seriously impressive performance. Now, don't get me wrong, this is obviously a step up in grade, but she looked very good there. You know, she looked like she could maybe develop into a Group 2 verging on Group 1 filly. But she ran last time out in the Hungerford Stakes. I think the drop down to 7 furlongs was a bad move, but the real kind of I think it wasn't Holly Doyle's best ride. Now it was a rare bad Holly Doyle ride, but to be fair to Holly, I think this filly takes a little bit of knowing. You need to kind of half miss the beat with her and get her covered up early and get her settled early. And she hit the gates rapid, and she was chasing a runaway leader. She was probably going a little bit too quick down in trip as well. And I think this time, Ronan Whelan is being booked to ride. If Ronan can just get her to miss, he's going to need a lot of luck now from stall 13, to be fair. But if he can get her to just miss the kick and get her covered up early, there's two or three horses here that like to go forward. Ebona Plays, Pearls Galore, No Speak Alexander, maybe the First Time Cheek Pieces will light up Shale. I think to win, she'll need a bit of luck and for them to go very hard and pick up the pieces late. But there's a chance of that happening here. So look, it's a kind of a ride to nothing here for Ronan Whelan. You know, just sit out back, get her covered up early, and you know, hopefully that what we saw from her at Ascot we can see again here. So yeah, it's an interesting race. Looking forward to this. But I think Deasy, to be fair, you know, I can see why he has such a strong opinion on Mother Earth.
Mother Earth, the main shout for Deasy, of course, and Donn is putting up Pearls Galore, Rixie, Dream Loper without Mother Earth, although still positive about her. I'm on the fence. Boomerang Mile we come to. It's the last race we're going to be previewing. And this is the 2:10. Max Swinney is 5.0. Maker King 6.0. 8.5 for Njord. 9.0 Thunder Moon. 11.0 Fev Rover. Real Appeal and Snapateria are 13.0. Love that horse. Love saying it. 15.0. And Bigger the rest. Right. Come to DC first. You've got a few you've put up or you like. Is there one you'd be more keen on? You've mentioned Fev Rover, Njord, military style.
Yeah, I think Fev Rover is probably the one, just because I think that a mile on fast ground will really suit her. She was really good at the end of the season last year. Her run in the 1,000 guineas was a cracker, and she's a decent price as well. Like she's a winning place price for this if you fancied a bit of that. I like Njord as well, but I think Njord is fairly exposed. But again, Njord's form the last time. Njord was, I think it was in that race with Sacred again, wasn't it? The Sacred's on always good enough. Again, and that, yeah, that's the Hungerford Stakes. Again, rock solid horse. Like, but Nord is about, what is it, about 8.0?
Yeah, 8.0.
Like I couldn't see him out of the top 4. But one of the big prices, Military Style. They're like, what price have you got him at there?
Full 41.0.
Military Style won the Curragh Stakes last year at Leopardstown on good ground. Him at McNamara went off out in front. Got away from him. No, that was over 7 furlongs, and he was very nearly caught in the line by Van Gogh, but it was a great ride. He's been off since September last year, but he has been entered twice recently in August and was pulled up because of unsuitable ground, because it was soft and good to yielding. Maybe good ground is the secret to him. So I'm going to have a win and place bet on him, and maybe do a bit of in-play trading as well. If he's 41.0, he's probably going to make the running in this. If he like Donn said, does a good running, like if he has a good bit of a lead now coming into that running, like he could be hitting maybe 10.0, you could lay it off. You'd have a free bet to nothing then and them. I can see him running fairly well. And Cartoon was the other one, but I don't think I'm going to put him up because his last 2 runs were so bad. So the main one would be Fev Rover and maybe a little bit of Win Place and Military Style. And
Rixie, you agree with Fev Rover?
Yes, yeah, I'm going to put Fev Rover. Just the conditions of the race look to suit her, to be fair. And, we're maybe forgetting, 3 runs back at the start of the season. She did finish 3rd in the 1,000 guineas behind Mother Earth. And I thought it was a decent guineas at the time, to be honest. She ran very well. And then, look, she disappointed at the Curragh in the Irish 1,000 guineas, and then at Royal Ascot in the Coronation Stakes. But both those runs came on significantly softer ground. I think you could easily forgive her those kind of runs. She's going to get back onto a firmer surface. I just find it interesting here that I think they've spotted the conditions of the race. I think McSweeney obviously is he looks like a soft ground miler to me, although he did run very well in the Juddmonte. But he's not going to get his ground here, and he carries the penalty. I think she could have easily been running in the Matron, to be fair, Fev Rover. So I think it's quite interesting that she's running here. And Hugh Taylor, I think, is involved with this horse. Hugh obviously works at atheraces.com, tipster. He's involved with this horse. I think it's actually named after the club he supports. I think they're a rugby league club. So, Hugh is a good judge, and he can place horse as well. So it's, wouldn't be surprised if Hugh's kind of had a big role in the decision making of where she goes. And I just if she reproduces anything like that 1,000 guineas run, she'll be banging in contention here. The draw is a little bit of a worry. But Billy Lee's riding. He's a very good jockey. He's one of Ireland's best. And she does like to go forward. Hopefully they'll leave her go forward and she can have her own little freebie up in front. That'd be nice. Maybe a little bit of wishful thinking there. But yeah, I just thought Fev Rover, the conditions of the race. It's not like you take out the Bulger horse. It's not really that much. It's not really a good race this year. It's a lot of kind of Group 3 listed type horses, and this is a filly at the bottom of the way. It's bringing in classic form. So yeah, I'll chance her. And also, I should say, sorry, I know she hasn't run in a while. It's been interesting. A couple of articles have popped up. Richard Fahey's been asked about her, and even though she's been off the track, he's been saying, yeah, don't forget about her. I think she had a bit of a sinus problem, and she was supposed to run maybe earlier in the season, but they've cleared that up. But even though she's been off the track for a while, it's been very interesting that Richard Fahey's been quite positive about her. So that's just something else to bear in mind. Horse Sudafed,
no doubt. I would imagine.
Could do with it. Joseph and myself, my sinuses are absolutely rotten. I took that fall Briar Hill did in the Albert Bartlett there one day playing a match and absolutely ruined my nose. So yeah, similar problems.
Fev Rover is 11.0. Donn, if you don't mind, I'm just because Maker of Kings is my best bet. No, Maker of Kings. So I wanted to make the case, but I know you like him. But he's the best bet of the day. So I did feel that. So Thunder Moon is basically a pony. Njord, not good enough. McSweeney with the penalty on quick ground, not for me. Don't mind Fev Rover. I can see it, but the absence was a bit of a concern for me, and I don't think the rest are good enough. Maker of Kings, since the blinkers have gone on, has just looked absolutely spot on. And I just wonder if, coming from where he tried to come from at Leopardstown, he just made up a bit of ground at probably the key part of the race. And, it was no disgrace running into Japan and being a short head second. I just thought he's really going the right way. And I thought he was a standout bet. Again, I really wanted to take on Max Swinney, basically. And then I wanted to take on those couple in behind as well. So Maker of Kings is my best bet of the day. And looking at his profile, he doesn't want testing ground anyway. So I think the ground should be about perfect. Don, what would you like to add?
Yeah, no, I agree with a lot of that, Tom. As you know, and yeah, like since he's turned the corner this year since he was gelded, and then in his last 2 runs since Gerline's fitted blinkers. When he beat Erzincan at Leopardstown, I thought that he was flattered by the run because Cazoo went off in front, and Colin Keane, he's just so good. I thought Maker of Kings was the beneficiary of a really good ride by Colin Keane. He stalked Cazoo into the home straight and then kicked, and I thought he kind of won. He won well because of the ride that he got. But then last time, as you say, Tom, his run against Japan, that was a hell of a run. Maybe over a trip that stretched him. Although going to the line, you wouldn't have thought that he wasn't staying it. But as you say, he did make up an awful lot of ground from well back in the field. And Japan is a top-class horse. He beat Sinuan in the 3rd place. And Sinuan is a very, very good horse at Leopardstown especially. And he's just, again, he's I suppose not wholly dissimilar to Pearls Galore, but at a slightly different level. He has to improve in order to win a Group 2 race. But he's that type of horse who's improving going into the race. Gerline's, obviously, his team has been in tremendous form all season. Colin Keane rides him again, and he loves Leopardstown, goes well on the ground. Yeah, I think there's plenty to recommend him.
So we agree in 2 halves, really, with that contest, with Fevrova and Maker of Kings. And Deasy also gives a shout to Military Style. Right, Leopardstown best bets, first of all. I'll give mine away. It's Maker of Kings in the Boomerang. Rixie, your best bet from Leopardstown on Saturday?
I'm going to go with Tarnawa. I'm hoping she can get it done. She's got gears. I don't think the Eclipse form is as good as everyone is making out. Poetic Flair mightn't get the desired strong gallop he needs to produce his best. Tarnawa's had a perfect prep. Dermot Wells, one of the few races he's never won, is the Irish Champion Stakes. Bring it home, Tarnawa.
Don, your best bet. You're taking him on.
Poetic Flair, yeah. The opposite of what Declan just said.
You know what's going to...
Deasy, I feel like...
Damn you, McClean, he's my kryptonite again.
I feel like I might know what your best bet is, Deas.
A very responsible best bet on Mother Earth.
Gamble responsibly. Or mind your bets, whichever way you want to phrase it.
Mind your bets.
Make sure
very
far home.
Quite right. Got to be able to get home. Now, very quick line on Sunday. So obviously there's 4 Group 1 races. It's a stellar Sunday. We're not going to go through every race by race. There's just some questions I want to throw out there if we can. So first of all, Don, to you, can Johnny Murtagh win both ledgers? I know that you've already put him up to win the first one. Do you quite like Sonny Boy Liston in the Irish ledger?
Yeah, I do. Like as you were saying, Tom, about horses, I was there. Like we were down with Johnny doing a piece for Racing TV during the week, and that's the danger when you go down to see a trainer and see a yard. You come away thinking he's going to win everything over the weekend. So, but that said, Sonny Boy Liston, he does have a lot in his favour. Like he won the Ebor off mark 108. Bajera Prince won the race last year off I think 108 or 109, and he finished second in the Irish Ledger. Sonny Boy Liston has gone up to a mark of 113, which puts him right in there. Like he doesn't have that much to find with Twilight Payment, and back at the Curragh, like he won the handicap at this meeting last year, really, really impressively, and he won by 4.5 lengths was the official winning margin in the end. And okay, it was a handicap, but it was this time of year at the Curragh, and put up probably the best performance of his year last year. He's gone forward again this year. He was very good in winning the Ebor. He battled on really well, proved that he stayed 1 mile and 6. And yeah, I think again, he's a progressive horse going into the race. I think he could run a big race.
And I think you found Search for a Song the last couple of years, so well done on that, half decent prices. So Sonny Boy Liston. DC, did you have a shout in this race, the Irish Ledger?
Yeah, can you read out what I wrote down there, Tom?
Yeah, sorry, absolutely. DC said, if Johnny Murtagh wins either ledger, Jim Bolger will... I can't read that out.
Oh no, I was talking about Oran at the end. Don't mind that.
Good. You were. I see what you mean. You were telling me to read something else out. Yeah, Donn, I'll just give you a clue. That was something political that Deasy was getting involved with. Nothing to do with Jim Bolger. Right. Yeah. What did you say, Deasy? You said
was just going to give if Oran Navian turns up in the St. Ledger and it's good ground and he's a big price, I think he'd be worth a win place bet.
Oh, you wanted me to read out Aaron Levine's name because you thought I'd get it wrong. Oh,
pronounced it right there, to be fair.
Oh, listen, I was schooled in this because he ran in the Derby ages ago, and so it's an easy one to say. Aaron Levine, yeah.
Impressive stuff from an Englishman.
Exactly. Right, next question I'm going to throw out there, and the last question I'm going to throw out there is there too much in the betting, Rixie, this one's for you, between the front two in the betting for the National Stakes? Pont Lonsdale at 1.5, Native Trail 4.5.
Yes, definitely. At those kind of prices, I'd definitely be fancying the Godolphin horse. I think Point Lonsdale, I'm not sure he's deserved and quite enough yet to get up to 115. I've got him on 108, and I've got the Godolphin horse on 106. So they're running over 7 furlongs. There's only a length between them. Progressive 2-year-olds. The Godolphin obviously have done very well in this race over the last couple of years. You know, Pinatu and Quarto have won it. So although Point Lonsdale, I should say he's a very, very likable horse. You know, he's very straightforward. Really stretches his game off the bridle. He stays very well. I'm just a little bit worried maybe on quickening ground. This could be kind of the fastest top horse he's taken. So that would be of interest. Yeah, sorry. It's so hard for us that when I speaking personally, it's very hard to be concrete on kind of bets at the Curragh without the draw and the full fields, because, you know, that turning track at the Curragh, you know, wide draw there sometimes is a real death sentence. And then on the straight track this year, we've seen kind of the rail can be decent or down the middle can be decent. So it's hard, but it should be a great weekend. I'm really looking forward to it. Friend, we've got France as well. We haven't even managed to cover the French race, and so it's gonna be mega weekend.
Imagine if we had another podcast just for the French racing.
You see, this is what happens when the NFL returns. Sully hates racing. He just bins it off. Now we'll do a few NFL pods.
Right, we are well over our hour, and we're going to say goodbye. Donn, you there both days? You Leopardstown and Curragh?
Leopardstown anyway, yeah. Not sure about the Curragh yet, but I'm working at Leopardstown, yeah.
Top man, enjoy it. That is going to be Sunday. If I could be anywhere, it would be there. Dees, top stuff. Thank you very much indeed.
Thanks, my lads.
Go home at some point soon, hopefully, Rixie. You deserve to.
Yeah. I was just stuck in traffic earlier. I should have been home. But, yeah, we'll be home soon.
The only one around working longer hours than Sully at the moment, I'd say.
Those NFL pods have got to be done.
Yeah. And sorry, this was half an hour later than advertised. I was stuck in traffic. Please do go to insights.matchbook.com for all these selections there, and have a great weekend. Mind your bets. Bye-bye.